Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy, Big Bro Lamar Ludy, coming to you again. And as always, I got my little bro, Logan Ludy, rolling with me. Hey, how you doing, little bro?
I'm great, man. I'm ready to get into this.
Ready to get into this?
Mm-hmm.
How have you been? On a scale of 1 to 10? How have you been enjoying the Bulls documentary, The Last Dance, so far?
Oh, 10 out of 10, hands down.
Just 10, not 100?
Oh, out of 100?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing with you, man.
I was about to be like, well, if those out of 100, it's perfect 100.
Yeah, man, I'm loving it too. This episode 6, we're getting to see a little bit of Jordan's dark side with him and this whole gambling. A lot of people are saying that, he's taking it too far. He's gambling too much. He's gambling, just out of control. What do you think? What do you think when it comes to the aspect of the gambling, how it affected him, if it was affecting him at all? What do you think?
Well, Michael Jordan, as we all know, is a competitive person with just about anything. You can see in these documentaries, they're having little card games on the plane, and then he's betting on golf games.
Mm-hmm. Any chance it gets, he's betting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was, for me, from what I saw and from listening to them, I wouldn't say it was a problem. But it was concerning at times, just the amount of money that they were, throwing away. Or I wouldn't say throwing away, betting on. But I wasn't too concerned, but I can see why people were concerned about it and how it would affect how he would want to, talk to the media, because the media would always be up in his face, always be asking him the same question every day. It was just exhausting, and I think that's what, he was going
worn
into
down.
Worn down, being mentally exhausted, being, tired mentally, because of they were going into the, trying to get 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to go through another grueling regular season, another long run into the playoffs. So I think that just, added up a bit, but I wouldn't say it was a problem. How about you?
I don't think it was a problem because, like you already said, the amount of money that he was betting, but the amount of money that he has. I mean, even David Stern talked about it, that, he was going, he's making so much money. He's just making so much money from his contract, from the endorsements. He's making so much money that when you go out and now you can bet it, he's got it. It's not like he doesn't have the money to pay it. He's got the money to pay.
Right.
So I think that, and like you just touched upon, dude's ultra competitive. If he's not that competitive, then we don't get Jordan. We don't get to see this, because that's the thing that drives him, is that competitive nature. That's what's going to drive him to do the things that he did on the court. So for me, I never had an issue with it. I mean, he kind of touched on it too in the documentary, where he's like, somebody who's got a problem is going to be having their kids not eating, not able to pay their bills, and that was
Right.
never the case, for him. So even though it wasn't if you don't want to say it was the gambling addiction, it was that high that he was getting from making the bet and then winning. That's what he was constantly searching for. The high that you get from making the bet, and then the high that you get after that when
Right.
you win. So I think that was more the issue. But I can definitely see how, there was one image that stood out to me from this episode where Jordan's standing there and the microphones are literally right here, like 50 microphones right here in his face. And he's standing there, up against the wall. Just as a human being with that personal bubble and that personal space, you're not going to want, to have that going on all the time. And you can see how that's going to wear you down, especially when you're trying to do something as great as three-peat. Now, that brings me to my point that I wanted to make. Jordan's got 6 rings, but let's not take away from the greatness of that first championship run. He won 3 in a row. It's not like he won one and then a couple years later won one. He did something that hadn't been done in decades, which was to win 3 in a row. He separated himself away from Magic, from Bird, from Isaiah. He separated himself from those guys just with that first three-peat alone. On the road to the three-peat, they faced the Knicks. Now, the Knicks kind of took over, a little bit into the 90s, that tough mentality, that tough style of play that the bad boy Pistons kind of embodied. I feel like the Knicks kind of took that over. Do you think that, or do you feel that that's an appropriate correlation, or do you think that the Knicks, why don't they get as much flack as the Pistons did for having that sort of tough guy mentality and that bruising style of play? Do you have any idea on that?
Well, it was, tough play like the Pistons, but you see the difference between that, the Pistons were trying to kill people when you look at it. And I know they'll say otherwise, but the Knicks were physical, but they didn't go as far as the Pistons would. And as you saw in the documentary, they wore out the Bulls during that run. They were like, Michael Jordan was tired, Scottie Pippen was tired. And did that go 7 games?
I don't. You know what? I don't think that one. I don't think that series did. Or yeah, you know what? It did go 7 games because there's 2 times that they went 7 games. It was with the Knicks, and then later on with the Pacers, they went 7 games. Okay.
Yeah. See, because that pushed them to the limits. That really tested them going forward for the getting into the finals. So like I said, I don't think, because I've seen some of the films of that team. They were not as physical like the Pistons were. Like the Pistons were, knocking you out from the air, trying to lay up, and then like you're hitting the ground hard. So I don't think it was that as bad as.
Well, and then another thing too that I'm going to add to that, because I agree with you. I don't think that it was a physical style of play, but it was physical within the boundary of basketball. Whereas the Pistons were a physical type of play, pushing it out of the boundary of basketball. It was different from a hard foul. It was intentional fouls to hurt, to harm. Now, the other difference is whenever the Knicks lost to the Bulls, which they did lose to them 4 times over the course of the Bulls title runs, the Knicks always had respect at the end. They didn't go walking off the court sulking angrily. They always came over, congratulated the Bulls, and sent them on their way with well wishes, which is what you have to do. I mean, you have to show respect for someone when you're at that level of competition. You have to be able to show respect to your opponent and let them, give them the gamesmanship and their due, which the Bulls earned time and time again. But I think that that's one of the big reasons why the New York Knicks and their physical style of play differs from the Pistons and their style of play. Because the Knicks were talking about it in the video. I mean, they're saying like whenever somebody went to foul, we were trying to foul to draw blood, but it was just different. It was just it had a different feel to it than what the Pistons were trying to do. So let's see. So after we see that, we see the gambling. We see the media distancing by Jordan. We have this tough series along the road to the Knicks. Now we've got the Suns in the finals. What do you think about Barkley as the MVP and that Phoenix Suns team going to war with the Bulls there for that final championship of that first three-peat?
Well, you just said it right there. Charles Barkley was the MVP, and that's what gave Michael Jordan that switch, that motivation to beat him, because that was just his mindset. He didn't think anyone else was better than him. I mean, you win the MVP, okay, but I'm going to go out here and win this championship. So
yeah, that's what he said.
That was his motivation. And the Suns, in the beginning part of that series, were completely dominated on both ends of the court, and then they woke up at the end, won a couple of games, but in the end, it didn't really matter as much. And they got in, and the rest is history. Michael Jordan won his 3rd title. That was the last one, and that he'll experience with his father, because he'll unfortunately pass in the next episode. Yeah, and it was bittersweet, because I think he says in that one that no one else knew but him and his dad that was his last year playing, because he was just so tired, exhausted, winning 3 titles. I mean, he fulfilled his obligations to the city, to the team,
right? And
he didn't feel like he had any more challenges, anything
else to prove at that point.
Anything else to prove to them.
I want to talk about Charles Barkley. I personally, when it comes to Barkley is something to me that is difficult to quantify. He has that MVP, he's got that finals appearance. So those 2 factors alone are going to solidify his place on just about everybody's top 20 guys. I mean, he's on the short list for basketball players of all time. Now, this is my personal thing with Barkley. because Barkley made the comment, that was the one time in his life that he felt that there was a better basketball player on this earth than him. For me, I was never a Barkley fan. I was never a Barkley fan. I could see that the guy played the ball. He played the game a hard way. I like listening to him as a commentator on TNT.
Me too.
I always like to hear what he has to say, if not just for some jokes, because he's always saying some funny stuff. But I mean, he can deliver a lot of nuggets, when he's giving his commentary. But for me, I never felt that Barkley was. It's tough to say, but I never felt that he was like that good. You know what I mean? Even though I just gave him all these accolades, and I'm saying that he's in the short list of those guys that are on that list, I don't feel like he's, up there that good. My personal opinion. Mm-hmm. And I feel like of all the Bulls championships, that this was the easiest one for them to go out and get, was going up against this Phoenix Suns team. What do you think about that?
I mean, well, Charles Barkley. I haven't seen much from play. But from what I've seen from highlights, Charles Barkley was a great player. He was on the Dream Team. He started on the Dream Team. I don't think it was one of their easier ones.
As easy as you can get for an NBA title, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not. I felt like they were closer. I feel like the easier one is when they win against Seattle. But I mean, to be honest, it's Charles Barkley against Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan will outplay him every time.
Yeah,
just because he doesn't have what Michael Jordan has on the Bulls. I mean, the Phoenix Suns had a really nice team, and Charles Barkley was a good. I think that was probably his best year in his career, and that year in Phoenix. But it wasn't. He comes up short because he even says he didn't come out the way he needed to in that first game in order to get his team ready to play, ready to compete, and that's what did him in.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? The thing of it is like a lot of the guys that played against Jordan, and this is something that we could touch upon, and we could touch upon it again later on when we get to do the later videos. But a lot of the guys that are coming out, they're interviewing Jordan's opponents. People forget these guys are ultra competitive too, because we're talking about other all-time great players. Like I just said, I may have put down Barkley in my own personal book, but I can still look at a basketball player and measure how complete they are, and I can tell you, okay, yeah, Barkley deserves to be up high on people's lists. But when we're talking about guys like Barkley, we're talking about Gary Payton's, we're talking about Reggie Miller's later on, Patrick Ewing's. These guys are not no little pushovers that are just. John Stockton even said it a little bit later on. We're going to touch upon that much later on in the documentary. But these guys are not people that you can just push around. They're also ultra competitive. But the thing is that each one of those guys is looking back at their matchup with Jordan, and they're saying, there's one thing that I could have done differently. We're seeing Charles Barkley say that he could have done differently by coming out and trying to set the tone. Now, the thing of it is like you said, there's a switch. Jordan's got that switch. The switch for him in this series, it wasn't Barkley getting the MVP necessarily, although that was a part of it. It was also Dan Marley was liked by Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause was saying how Dan Marley was such a good defender, and Jordan took offense to that, and he went out to Jordan went out to light him up. You know what I mean? So that's the thing about it. So Barkley may say, I could have come out differently, but you already got two strikes against you as a Phoenix Sun. You got the fact that Jerry Krause likes Dan Marley, which has nothing to do with the Phoenix Suns team on their own. That has to do with Jordan and Krause's relationship. And then you have the fact that the Associated Press gave the award to the MVP award to Charles Barkley, which is just another little piece of the fire. You know. So to me, I mean, you already got two strikes against you going up against the Bulls if you're the Phoenix Suns, based on that. So I think that definitely was. It's just a good piece of the puzzle, and like I said, that first three-peat gets overshadowed because of the fact that he went on to win three more. That first three-peat and what it means to the city of Chicago and what it means to Michael Jordan. I mean, that's got to solidify it, because let's look at the three teams that he beat. You beat the Lakers, who's the standard bearer for the previous decade. You beat the Trailblazers, who they had Clyde Drexler, who was kind of seen as Jordan Light. You know, he's the other best shooting guard in the NBA. So Jordan went out. He took offense to that, and he shuts down Drexler. And then you've got the Phoenix Suns. So you're beating 3 different contenders. You're beating 3 different Hall of Famers. You're beating 3 of the top 50 guys in NBA history, and you're doing this thing 3 years in a row with all this media circus and all these extra things that's going on around you. So I just want to take this video from the Ludybros and just take a special look at that first three-peat and what it means to the legacy of Jordan. Because, like I said, I feel like due to the way that the events played out, that first three-peat gets separated away from the second three-peat and can kind of get overshadowed, and what that means, to a player to have 3 titles in a row.
Right.
So, but anyways, little bro, all right, hey, well, why don't you get us up out of here?
All right, for sure. Hey, guys, thanks for watching this video. Hey, if you liked it, smash that like button. And I noticed there are a few of you watching this that ain't subscribed. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Smash that subscribe button. We want more of you guys joining in, watching these videos. Hey, leave some comments down below. Let us know how you like this episode. If there's something that we missed, let us know. We'll get back to you guys and we'll keep it rolling. All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining us.